the thing that I do want to add in respect to Anne's input regarding the hybrid model is IBM have the luxury to choose. We don't have the luxury to choose because you go to a customer, and many times the customer is saying, "I'm very happy that you have a rep here. I'm not going to speak with this rep. I'm going to speak with you or get a hike. I'm not going to deal with him because I want to deal with the guys who made the design, who are responsible for the system architecture. The channel will never ever provide me the level of expertise, understanding that I'm expecting to get and I deserve to get." Forces you as a young company to do whatever the customer wants, and at a certain point in time, you have to make a decision and distinction. Where do you go? Because you can't support every customer that knocks on your door, on the one hand, and you can't create a situation, and that I'm sure that you will be speaking about, which is the traditional channel of conflict. So I remember participating in our first show, and I thought that the show was fantastically great. And the salespeople, at the first evening that we were kind of wrapping up the day, they were all crying. Because all their channel partners said, you're lunatics. You're coming here. Every other customer sees your booth, goes in there, give the information, the tech people help him. You're wasting our time. We're not going to work with you.
Okay, a different type of angle. I would say that there's room probably, and I'll say it straight out. I think you would probably be able to grow your business faster if you did use the channel, but you have to understand that there's a lot of bad in the channel and a lot of good. The bad in the channel from a vendor's point of view is mostly around the fact that vendors expect channel partners to be their sales arm and their marketing arm. And in reality, most of them don't even know how to run their own business. Like, they don't invoice on time, they don't pay their taxes properly, they don't, I mean, you're lucky if you call them on Tuesday and they forget to talk to you on Tuesday, they'll never phone you back. They're not the best business people in the world. But what they are, and this is going to sound really strange, but they grew up to be the geeks in most cases. The people that got pushed around at school and nobody liked them, and all of a sudden they have a use. And the people who were the people who pushed them around before now need them. And so they do anything and everything they can to get those customers to make sure that they service those customers completely, because they want to be at least somehow connected to those people. Now, it sounds terrible, but there's no other place in the world or industry ever that has the type of service and support that the IT channel gives. Not for the right reason, but it gets the right results. Later on, we can talk about how you can get around there and actually automate the whole process of marketing and sales for them. And you know, that helps a lot. It's not as good as if they were salespeople, but it is about 100 times better than what we have now, literally 100 times.
Most of the time, you know, I deal with the new economy of the cloud, and actually I feel like I'm representing here some of the future trends that we see in the industry. As you know, the software industry is moving from product to services. So we're moving, as you mentioned, to the SaaS model, to software as a service. Everything become as a service. And it has a huge impact also on the business models, obviously. And we see a shift from the middleman kind of business models of sales, of channels, to direct sales, which SaaS is based upon. But because we are just at the beginning of the process, we still have cultural issues. For example, CIOs, most of them, used to sit in their nice chair and be visited by a salesperson from the big companies like IBM, and are not willing somebody to call them on the phone and tell them, please buy my great product because now I moved to SaaS. So it's not fit to everybody at this time where we're in, but since the young generation of today is getting used to the new media of SaaS, I expect that in a few years we'll see more direct sales via SaaS model and less via channels and middlemen models of tradition. And we have several nice examples about it. One of the companies maybe you heard is Panaya, which sells solutions for SAP and Oracle upgrades as a software as a service solution, and they sell in hundreds of thousands of dollars by the phone. And this is a very new phenomena. In this case, there was one factor that helped them because they sold to, let's say, a closed community that they are all users of SAP and now also on Oracle. For example, if I sold to a CIO of Mercedes-Benz and I called the CIO of BMW and they both use SAP, well, it's much easier for me to convince him also over the phone. So it helped them. It did sense, but it's a big success case study. Once people will get used to the new mechanism of selling over the phone or directly from the web, people will accept this way of selling, but there are still cultural issues of coming overhead, and especially also it depends on the level of the pricing. Because the higher the price, they expect you to approach them personally. Yeah, I can buy very easy, something costs $50, even $500, when it costs $50,000 or $500,000, I expect to know somebody. From a psychological point of view, I need to be in touch with somebody in order to buy it.
David built a program with only 35 channel partners. Tell us about that, why you used the channel, and what was good and what was bad.
The name of this company was Softricity, and we built it simply because it was the best way to scale. I mean, we actually had a hybrid model. We had a hybrid model, so we had a direct sales force and we had the channels. And to your point, there's a lot of conflict, and so you really have to kind of navigate down that road and walk through it. We actually were able to leverage existing channels with our technology. We were able to go after the Citrix channel or other system integrators in the virtualization space, which is what this played in. So we were able to go after VMware partners and kind of leverage those type of partners in order to obviously to gain our product. But it's a difficult road to navigate in the sense that at the end of the day they're still running their own business. So here you have a pipeline of sales, right? And 30% of it may be coming through the channel. But how reliable is that? How predictable is that? Because you're going through another layer, right? And that sales rep, right, that wants to close at the end of the quarter is getting a trip to Hawaii from this vendor, and he's getting, all sorts of other things that you're competing with, besides just your great technology. So you have to navigate through that as well. So kind of to your point, the channel could be great, channel could be challenging. How you kind of go through that path is really the trick to being successful.
In the North American marketplace, about 20% of the channel partners have gone into either being into managed services. Of those people who have already made the step into managed services, about 75% of them are now going into the SaaS solutions and stuff like that. So that doesn't sound like really great numbers, but if you think about it, those are the people, for the most part, that sell most of the technology. So probably if you go with your 80-20 rule, they're the 20 that are selling 80% of the technology that's going out into the market now. Why the other 80% don't do it is totally beyond me, but I've given up on them. Not completely, but somewhat. The reality is that the reason why, and I'm sorry, Abner, but I'll go against you just a little bit. The problem that they have when they're selling SaaS solutions right now is that they don't know where to find the SaaS solutions. And then they have to go in there and they have to try to figure out which ones are the right ones to sell for each of their different customers. And so what's happening is that now we're starting to see, and just starting to see, where the channel partners, the ones who are in that marketplace, are starting to say, okay, I only sell to lawyers. Let me find out the software as a service programs, and actually start focusing in on what they are. So I'm an expert at doing that. Then they become an expert at teaching them how to using it, how to support it, and do all the ways. Right now, it's just really starting. I would say in the last maybe 2.5 years, ever since basically you started hearing things like bring your own devices and all that stuff, because it's all now becoming a lot more important as it's all coming together. Like, where's your security, where your storage is, how do you order them, how do you make sure that you're getting giving the right customers the right products, and so on. And it's nowhere near where it needs to be yet, but over the next few years, I would pretty much guarantee that 20% will probably go up to 40%, not because of people moving into it that are already in our industry, but more because we're getting more and more business people who are becoming channel partners, who come in there with no idea at all about technology, or very little bit. They'll go out and hire somebody to do that part, but what they do have is the business contacts. And those are the people who are really, they're coming into our company, into the channel, and you see them go from being, buying out a small company for, maybe $20,000, $30,000, or $50,000, or $100,000 even, and all of a sudden their sales go from being $100,000 to $1 million in 4 or 5 months, and it's because they're getting it. These are the people who are going to be the ones that you really want to look for, and the ones that you really want to partner with, in my opinion. You're shaking your head a lot.
I wanted to say something because Avner said something about the SaaS being so important and the direct sales with SaaS. And actually, one of the things that I think is really, really critical about SaaS is the development of the SaaS channel. And what you just said, I think, is a really critical part. Everybody who is developing a SaaS solution really needs to understand that the channel for SaaS is going to look entirely different than the channel does for on-premise solutions. And the kinds of players that are in this market and the kinds of roles that are happening in this market are very, very different. We've got a lot of traditional IT channel partners that are transforming their business and trying to get into the managed services, trying to learn how to sell SaaS. Very, very hard for them, not only because they don't know how to transact that way, but because of the areas of expertise that you're talking about. So one of the things that you're starting to see in the SaaS channel is the companies that are the industry experts in different areas, let's say in marketing, or in human resources, or in facilities management. Some of these areas that are having more of an uptake in the SaaS areas are starting to become managed service providers themselves and being distributors of SaaS solutions from their industry expertise areas, so sort of getting into becoming IT channel partners, where that wasn't necessarily their source-based business to begin with. So I think that when you look at the IT channel today, you really need to make a distinction between the traditional IT channel partners that are transforming their business and trying to learn how to get into SaaS selling and become a SaaS channel, and the ones that are coming into this business from an entirely different direction. And the key, from my perspective, in the middle, is the companies that are going to become the brokers, the aggregators of SaaS solutions. These guys are really, really critical to getting to market, because they're the ones that are going to have basically the distributors of the future.
Exactly.
And if you don't have a really good handle on some cloud aggregator or some cloud brokers who are going to be the ones who give you that hub and spoke touch into the market, you're going to find that you're going all over the place, where you could take a different type of approach, go directly to an aggregator and use their reach into the market.